What's up guys, I'm Chris and today you're watching a magic review on AIMee by Thom Parkin. Welcome to the channel and thanks for tuning in. Please consider subscribing. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, and any questions or comments, just in the comment section below. Also, don't forget to join the Chris Edwards Magic Secret Access group on Facebook. That will give you access to unlisted videos here on the channel that aren't listed publicly. Okay, so what do we have today? Thom Parkin is back with another app after the success of the Instant Card Magician, and this is everything that you could have hoped and more. So what is it? AIMee stands for Artificial Intelligent Mind Reading Extrasensory Extension. There we go. Okay, bit of a tongue twister, but AIMee for short, and that's what we'll call it for the rest of the review. AIMee is a web-based app that emulates AI chat programs that we're all familiar with, and so is the general public, which is good. So Thom had been working on this for about 3 years when the idea of AI kind of came about to the general public in regards to the chat type software. So what AIMee does is, in short, she divines a playing card. Now, there's much more to it than that, and we're going to kind of touch on everything that we can here. This review is for the basic effect. Now, there are other effects as well that you can purchase as add-ons. So I'm going to be making an updated video further down the road. I'm just doing the basic effect right now, and then in the future there'll be another video on the add-ons. So if you want to see what a performance of AIMee looks like, head over to David's channel at Unbiased Magic Reviews. David did the tutorial for this project and it's awesome. And he also has a performance video which he shared on his channel. So if you haven't checked that out, go check that out. See what this is about. I'm here to review it. But in short, there are two ways to do the basic effect. So you can do this with or without a physical deck of cards. Okay, so the one version is you use a physical deck of cards and AIMee will divine it. I'll get more into how she does that without exposure. And the other version is the same type of thing, except you don't need anything. Okay, so for one, this uses your participant's phone. You don't need to have a phone on you. You don't need to have cards on you. All you need to have done is purchase this app and have the knowledge to use it up here, because you don't even need to use your phone. So the second version, you simply have your spectator think of a playing card. Now they can either say it out loud, or what I do and what I prefer doing is to have them write it down on a business card. I get a peek, right? So that way they can't think later on that your phone, or that somehow the app or the website, I guess we should say, as they will know it as a website. I don't want them thinking that the microphone picked up what they said. So as long as they write it down and I peek it, there's no way that I should know what it is or the website. So I'm trying to think of what other things I can cover before going into the tutorial, where I'll kind of talk more about the routines. A few things that stood out to me right from the beginning that I really loved about this is this can be 100% hands off. Okay, so you never touch their phone, you never do anything with their phone. So the hands off thing is really cool. Not having to have anything on you. Like if you want to perform this at a nude beach, you can, because as long as your spectator has a phone, that's all you need. So not that I'm going to do that, but I really like that you don't need to have absolutely anything on you to do this. And then again, like the Instant Card Magician, one thing I absolutely loved about that, I love the routine itself, but the redirect after the effect is over, that was huge for me, because I've always loved performing inject. What I didn't love was having to take the participant's phone and go to a Google page that they could have operated and done themselves, right? Why am I taking their phone to go to Google when I could just say, go to Google, right? Didn't make a lot of sense. There's also the NFC tags, but if your participant doesn't have the NFC enabled, tags aren't going to work. So when Thom created the instant card magician and had the redirect go to wherever you wanted it to, that's what I did. I had to go to my inject. So we'd do the instant card magician, do the effect, and then it would automatically redirect them to Google, to which I would go into the next effect, right? Now, this also has the redirect. So again, that's, I think, worth its weight in gold, but the effect itself is amazing as well. So whether you're using physical cards or just having your participant think of a card, ultimately, the routine ends with AIMee divining the playing card. Okay. There's also an option to have them enter their email, where they will also get an email of the card that they had selected. So kind of like a souvenir or something that they can be reminded of that experience, of that, have kind of a memory. Okay, so let's touch on the tutorial first and then kind of go over a little bit about how it works without saying too much. So like I said, the tutorial, Thom asked David from Unbiased Magic Reviews if he would be interested in doing the tutorial to AIMee. And over the years, they kind of worked on this together. So the original effect Thom came up with, and then just over the years, they kind of combined some ideas to make this really something incredible. Now, the tutorial is really good, kind of go over the history, what AIMee is, how it got to be where it's at, and then the two basic effects, so the variations. So with the first version, you'll use a deck of cards, okay? David goes over a really good peek. It's really simple, but it's awesome. So ultimately, you're going to peek a card and then move forward into the effect. But the good thing about this first version is that it is 100% hands off to you. You never touch their phone or do anything. And you don't even have to know the playing card until after you log in. So it's not like anything can be done in advance. And you actually code the selection to AIMee in real time. And this is all so clever. It's put together very, very good. So you'll have them log in, you'll give them your username, you'll give them your password. By the way, this isn't your actual password that you will use for other things. I will mention here, you do get a username and an actual password, but you only need that actual password because there is a training section, which we'll get into a little bit more. But you'll give them your username and a password, which they'll put in. That will log them in to the startup screen. They'll kind of get an introduction on AIMee. And then from there, you will have them select a card, and there will be certain prompts or actions that follow the selection that will make sense later to actually divine that selected card. It's not the easiest for me to explain, but it's all very simple to understand and to do. David goes over everything so that it's crystal clear, but ultimately, certain actions are happening that you will use to prompt AIMee to understand the selection. Now, I know that probably doesn't make a lot of sense, but without saying too much, maybe they will select a card. Once you know that card, you might have them cut the deck, or you might not, and that does make a difference. Now, when it comes to knowing what to do and how to get that information to AIMee, there are 5 things that you need to remember. So there is a bit of memorization, but it's extremely easy and it's nothing complicated or complex. Like I said, there's 5 things that you need to remember. And in learning this, David has a list of mnemonics that he provides you with so that memorizing the 5 things that you need to know is really easy. He's also put together a graph or a chart that give the mnemonics and the explanation of the method some visual so that you can really understand this without getting overwhelmed. So AIMee will ask a series of questions to which your participant will answer, and it doesn't seem suspicious. They seem like completely random questions, and they really are, but they're going to touch on things that were done. So, maybe they shuffled the cards, maybe they cut the cards, and those will all mean something. And then ultimately, AIMee divines the card and redirects your participant to wherever your redirect is. Okay, now the second version, Really, it's the same effect, right? So it's just a variation of the first one. The second one uses nothing, right? So it's a thought of card. Like I said, they can either say it out loud or they can write it down. And I prefer them to write it down and I peek it. So you do need to know the card in advance, because the method with this one doesn't have any of the behavioral questions or any of the actions as the other one did. Now again, this one can still be completely hands off, right? You could always take the phone to input your passwords, but you can also just say it to them. And that has something to do with the method this time, but it's also very well coded so that when they're putting in the password, it doesn't give them any indication that what they're typing in has to do with their selection, or their thought of card. Again, there's a little bit of memorization, but there is a code word, and each letter stands for a different category that helps AIMee understand what the selection is. Again, very simple, because the most that you need to ever input is 5 characters, 5 pieces of information, each piece being a specific letter. But at the same time, a lot of the time, it's only 2 or 3 pieces of information. Now, I know that might not make a lot of sense right now because it's very vague, but it's really quite difficult to explain without just flat out saying this is the method. But what I can say is, again, it's all very simple to remember, it's very simple to understand, and once you do it a couple times, it's gonna be second nature, right? So there's also a mnemonic system for that, and it'll take no time at all to learn. So if memory work is something that overwhelms or intimidates you, don't discard this because of that, because it's not like you have to learn a stack. It's not like you have to learn a word for every letter of the alphabet or anything like that. You're literally just memorizing 5 simple categories. Now, in the tutorial, there's also going to be options for other effects like an ACAN and some effects using stacks or memorized decks. And then you'll also have your integrations and things like that. So there is a section for add-ons. But again, this video is just covering the basics for now, and we'll get to add-ons in another video in the future after I've had some time to kind of play around with the add-ons and understand them before reviewing. I should mention now as well, as part of the method, there is a category that prompts AIMee to know a certain thing, and it has to do with a location, right? So there's a question, and I should actually maybe state one of the questions to just kind of show you how unsuspicious, if that's even a word, they are. So one of the questions is kind of like an identity confirmation. Just AIMee wants your participant to answer a question about you so that it looks like it's kind of an identity confirmation, and you will flat out give your participant the answer, but the question will say blank traveled here at this time, for example, okay? And then the screen will show 4 different options, right? And each one of those options means something, but it seems super innocent and fair. So what I'm getting at with this is that those locations, they're all based in the US, okay? So it may not bother you at all because you could simply say that you traveled there, right? But I'm in Canada, and Thom had said, if that's something that you need change to feel comfortable in doing this effect, then he can customize it. But it does take some time, so I'm not sure exactly what the process will be with that, but he did want me to mention it just in case that was like a deal breaker for you, right? And I did want to mention it. And one of the add-ons that I forgot to mention is a custom QR code. So that's pretty cool because you can actually, instead of getting them to open their browser and telling them what the website is, which is easy enough, but you could just have the QR code on your phone or print it onto a sticker or whatever and have them scan that. It'll take them directly to the site that they need to go to. And then, you also get your custom username and password. So I see a lot of things happening with this that maybe haven't even been thought of yet. So, I think that this is going to be something big. And don't forget, as far as the memorization goes, once you learn those mnemonics, it's going to be very simple. But just so that you feel confident going into this and performing it in the real world, there is that training mode. So you can go over that as much as you want until you feel that you're ready to actually present this. So I think I touched a lot on the difficulty just by talking about the slight memorization and then different prompts, right? So you're either going to be having them input a password that has to do with the card, but they'll never know that, or there'll be a series of actions which prompt AIMee to understand what the card is. So the difficulty, it's really not that difficult at all. The most difficult this will ever be is just learning the things you need to in order to perform this. But actually performing it is not difficult at all. Angles, there's nothing to worry about with angles. 100% angle proof can be performed surrounded. Can it be inspected? Yes, because we're not using our phones. We're not using anything of our own. We're not even using the participant's phone. They are, and we don't ever have to touch it. So there's nothing to examine. Pocket space. I'm going to say 0 because if you are using your phone for any reason, which you don't have to perform this, but if you are redirecting it to your inject page, if you get your peak from your phone, or even from like your watch or Peaksmith or whatever, you have to have your phone on you. So if that's the case, you'll need your phone. But I can't count that as pocket space because we all carry our phones on us anyway, so it's not like we're taking up additional pocket space with this effect. And if you aren't redirecting them to somewhere where you'll get a peak later, then you don't need anything. So it literally takes 0 pocket space because you could be performing this in your underwear. Is it a worker, and who would use this? So this, mentalist or magician, there's an element of magic to this, being that this has to do with their phone and that it's an AI bot that's reading their mind. To me, that kind of goes beyond just basic mentalism. So I think it's kind of magic and mentalism, but definitely anybody can use this, right? I think the huge advantage is the redirect and being able to perform your mentalism with inject or wiki test or whatever completely hands off. So as far as this goes in being a worker, 100% it is, because whether you're using this strolling walk around stage, getting somebody up on stage and having them use their phone, that's super fair. And then redirecting them, right? So maybe you're redirecting them to your website. Maybe you're redirecting them to your link tree where it has all your socials and all your booking information. Maybe you're redirecting them to inject, right? However you want this to go, that's where it'll go. And that can totally be used for you as a business and for your brand. So what's the price, and is it worth your money? Thom is extremely generous because he didn't put a fixed price on this. And I hope that people don't just pay the bare minimum. I mean, if that's all you can do, then understandable. But Thom spent 3 years putting this together, and the fact that he didn't set it at a price tag up here says a lot. So when you purchase this, you have the option of tipping anywhere from $5 to $50. I purchased this with my money. I'm positive that Thom was going to just give me this to review, but Thom's a good guy and he's put a lot of work into this. So I wasn't able to tip the highest amount at the time, so I think I paid 20 or something like that. But this is worth so much more than that, because the effect itself, it's unique, it's original, and then where it can go after that, the sky's the limit, and you can do so much with that. So whether you're paying $5 or $50, it's 100% worth it. And I think if Thom wanted to, he could have put a $50 to $100 price tag on this, and people would buy it and they would be happy with that. So just think about that. Pros and cons, positives and negatives. The pros, I've went over all of them. I would say the ones that stand out the most, hands off. You don't need a single thing on you to do this. And the redirect. Okay, it's also simple to do. It's straightforward. Negatives, some people hear the word memory work and they get scared off. And I get it, because That's why I haven't learned a stack or anything, but this is nothing like that. The memory work here is so little. And the only negative that I can really see with this is that AIMee's going to get the credit. AIMee's going to get the credit. But then you can redirect them to your inject and you can take the credit for that one. But you know what? I was thinking AI has to learn, right? So you could simply take the route that you taught AIMee how to read minds. And then you get a little bit more credit because she will do it. And then when it redirects to Google or whatever, then you do it. All in all, my negative there was kind of a joke. There is no negatives at all that I can see. You can do so much with this, and I just think everybody who purchases this is going to get their money's worth. So with that, I think I covered everything that I wanted to. I don't know, there's so much that I could talk about with this, but I don't want this review to run a half hour long. So there will be another video down the road. If I think of anything in the meantime that I left out or forgot, or if you have any questions, just feel free to ask in the comments. If it's something that I can't answer in the comments, I will give you my email or whatever, and we can talk further. If I don't have the answer, I can talk to Tom. But ultimately, I hope that you have an understanding of what this is and if it's for you. And like I said, go check out David's channel at Unbiased Magic Reviews. He has a presentation on there. Then you can actually see what this is about and what it does. And I can't recommend this enough. So with that, I'll leave a link in the description below. And if you have any further questions with access to this or specific questions, I'm pretty sure Tom will have no problem in you reaching out. So feel free to do that as well. For now, we'll see you at the next review.